All right, here we are up in Cold Lake with Jon MacArthur, sitting down nicely after a nice long day of in the bush, tromping around and shooting some videos for both of our sites, which was more than entertaining. John, I don't know where you got that Santa suit, man, but that's probably the best thing I've seen in a long time.
It's one of the best kept secrets of Christmas is to have yourself a Santa suit.
Yeah, well,
the fun you can have. Well, obviously,
cat's out of the bag now.
yeah.
So, John, you and I are both heavily involved in the wilderness skills and survival industry in Alberta. And one of the things that doesn't get touched on very often is the search and rescue end of it. And you're heavily involved in search and rescue here in Alberta and Cold Lake specifically. So, how long have you been involved in search and rescue?
Well, now I got just about 10 years involved with it. Got involved with it in about August 2008. So, another year, another little bit, and I'll have 10 years.
So the people that don't know you, you're also a member of Canadian Air Force, and
Yeah, I'm an aircraft structures technician at 409 Tactical Fighter Squadron here in Cold Lake. Member. Also, my secondary duty is I'm the deputy officer commanding of the four-wing ground search and rescue team. So, I get to do ground search and rescue as a volunteer in the community, and I also do it as part of my day job. So, it's a pretty cool spot to be in.
And how did you get involved in search and rescue? Because you're heavily involved in it, and you're quite good at it. So it's not just something that came overnight.
Well, going back a bunch of years to 1993, there was a guy that went missing in my community, and I volunteered as a spontaneous searcher, kind of, and helped out with Lunenburg County Ground Search and Rescue, and that search, lasted a week. So got to build a pretty good relationship with some really nice people from different backgrounds, but all there for the same thing. So when I moved up to Cold Lake, there was a team here, so I made that happen. I just went and volunteered and joined. So the rest of it is, that's short, a long story, pretty short. Mm-hmm. But that's where I'm at. So
nice. Now, being part of the ground search and rescue for the military and being involved in Cold Lake search and rescue, what are some key differences between the civilian and military when it comes to search and rescue?
Well, we're paid. That's one right off the hop.
In the military or in civilian?
Well, in the military, is civilian. It's strictly volunteer. It's purely volunteer. It's not paid on call. You don't get a check from your search and rescue for volunteering to go out on a search, and a lot of it is out of your own pocket. It takes a special type of person, in my opinion, that wants to go out and be a searcher and pay for that out of their pocket. That's probably one of the big differences. One of the other differences is we're given time out of our work schedule to train. So every month we have a full day of training where we're able to do maintenance in our building, make sure our equipment's up to go, anything needs to be fixed. We also then will do proficiency training, such things as map and compass, survival skills, everything from, deploying into a mock search scenario to tabletopping, how we would do a big, when we tie into the emergency readiness plan for the wing. So
what's tabletopping?
So tabletopping is an exercise where you would work with maps in one room, and you would basically kind of almost like a board game. You would make a move, they would go around. Okay, this is we're deploying the team to this area, and there'd be an exercise master that would know where your person's going to be, but it's kind of to get for your senior staff a better idea how to deploy into different areas, to start thinking, the Scorpio principle, size it up, right? Identify any of your objectives, what resources are you going to need, and then, make sure that all your contingency plans are covered off. So they're able to do that, in a classroom. It's a whole walk before you run.
Okay.
So doing that in a classroom in a nice environment. So when we're out on the ground, we're able to develop plans and make actions.
Nice. So on the civilian side of things, being volunteer-based, for the training that the volunteers get, now is that done through a funding, or does the civilian volunteer, do they have to go and get their own training?
So we're given grant money from the provincial government. In the municipal affairs minister, he's responsible for allocating that money out to the province, and we get it in the form of a training grant that's distributed through the Office of the Fire Commissioner, the OFC. So each region in the province gets X amount of dollars in a year, depending on how much has been budgeted, and then they cut it up into parcels for different courses. So, for example, we just ran a Tracker 100 here, and we paid a company a lot of money to come up and teach for a weekend, and so it eats up the training funds pretty quick.
What's the annual cost estimated for the search and rescue here in Alberta?
Well, if you're to get every cost in, it would probably be a very big number. I was actually just going over a letter. We just got a season's greetings letter from the Office of the Fire Commissioner, and they just, they were thanking us for our hard work and dedication and, sacrifice. People give up their time and, be away from family, but they had put out the preliminary year-end numbers that showed that there was about 270 SAR taskings with 115,517 volunteer hours were dedicated to SAR, and that would probably be about, they're averaging here about $4 million worth of service to the Alberta people. So that's kind of, it's a way of being involved in your community, but it also helps save the Alberta taxpayer a big bill to be able to produce quality search and rescue on the ground. So paying for the training from the government is a good thing.
So what are some of the key things that you're finding that are common when you enter a search and rescue? Is it by mistakes, or how the state of that you're finding the person?
So are you saying what's taking the people out? Like what's taking the subject of the search out? What happened to them? Well, from my experience here in this region, it could be a mechanical breakdown of your your ATV, your snowmobile, and you got to remember, if you get on a snowmobile and you crack the throttle for 15 minutes, well, that's farther than you can walk in the day. So you can get yourself off into some pretty austere environments pretty quick. Most people don't carry a survival kit, and they have very bare bones training, if any at all. I mean, we could just go watch these shows that they put on television. People think they watch them and they've learned some magical search or survival skills, and they're watching drama. They probably, most of the good tips are laying on the floor of the editing room.
Pretty much.
So people have a false sense of reality. So I think getting proper training is from professionals, people that have some dirt time in, and they've got a good pedigree of where they're getting their information is crucial. I
know one of the common things that I always see, and you probably see it too, is that it can't happen to me attitude.
Yeah, that's for sure, man. I see that all the time. Like, oh, I'm just walking over there, and I know where my truck is. I don't bring any of that gear, and Probably statistically, for the most part, most of these guys, nothing's going to happen to them. But there's always that accident. There's that what if. And I myself, I'd rather throw some knowledge and skills, some hardened skills that I know are solid for getting that fire going to protect my core body, be able to get some water into me, and be able to rest. I'd rather have those skills. Those are super important because we just see time and time again guys that go out there, they get caught out and they don't have these skills and, that whole dying of exposure. Well, guess what? You're in it.
Yeah, you bet.
Right? I mean, here in northern Alberta, like, we drove up here, whatever, that 3 hours from Edmonton.
Yep.
Right? 10 feet off the highway either way, you're in the bush up here.
Yep.
And, just because you're on the road doesn't mean the cold's not going to affect you.
Yep.
Right? Like, so even in your vehicle, you should have this gear. Especially in this environment.
And I know when I travel in winter months, I dress very warm inside the vehicle, keeping the heater turned down. Because you just think about it, you get into an accident, slide off the road, you go unconscious, and nobody sees you. If you're dressed for warmer weather, you have a longer chance of maintaining body heat. And I know when we were packing the vehicle up here, I'm throwing an axe in there, a bunch of handfuls of paracord, a pot, a bunch of ways to start a fire, and even a little box of firewood.
Yeah.
You never know when it's going to go bad, or if you don't need it when it's going bad for somebody else, so you can jump in there and help them out.
Well, I've always been one of those guys that maybe brought more than I always should have had, but I've never been like in a situation where it was like I've ever needed for anything.
Yeah, no kidding.
So especially in a vehicle, I mean, it carries you, so so it can carry your pack. What's one more bag in there with some good gear? And I mean, knowing what to get, is critical.
Oh, you see all of them.
Well, you go
the Dr. John's snake oil being sold all over the place, and it's stuff that doesn't work. You and I have seen it time and time again. People come on our courses or a course that we're being a part of, and the latest and greatest gimmick that hasn't been practiced, hasn't been tested, and just falls apart on them.
Well, you go into these major stores and they have all these like pre-made survival kits and stuff, and that's not what we're talking about to get at all. That's like it's like you're buying a false sense of safety. Mm-hmm. One of these kits, and I would really like to meet the person that ever said that they could survive, with one of those little kits.
Yeah,
I haven't met them.
Just pull them off the street. Here you go.
Yeah, it's one of those little finger saws, or you know what I mean.
The wire saws. Yeah. Like, if you've ever tried using that thing, good luck.
Yeah, your fingers turn blue.
There goes your 2-day caloric intake, getting no heat out of it. So, it's funny to see all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Maybe like when we talk about some of the things that we carry or pack heavy on, and you talk about some of the things that people aren't having or don't have them on them when you find them in a search and rescue scenario. What are some of the handful of things that you think you should have on your persons, whether you're, like you said, on a skidoo earlier, throttled out for 15 minutes, or in your vehicle as you're traveling in cold weather conditions, or just traveling in general? Like, what do you think some of the top items should be?
Well, number one, before you even leave the house, you should be dressed. You and I both have the same opinion on wool. We come from a long line of wool wearing survival instructors, and for good reason. It took me a long time to get wool pants, and I was lucky I got them from Dale there at Nature Alive.
Yep.
The big bills, and I'm telling you, the 24-ounce wool pant, unreal. Like, I never had wool pants before. I've had insulated pants, but there's something about the wool. It holds that heat. It also has that vapor permeability. Lets the moisture get out, and you can dry it, and it works really well. Those awesome Arc'teryx pants, around a fire. Those $500 Gore-Tex pants
One
that
spark.
break the wind. It's sad day.
Oh.
Your face goes upside down, sad.
Yeah, I think we've all seen that face turn from happiness to sadness.
From that nylon jacket that catches a spark, and next thing you know, you don't have it anymore. So, and then you think about that, you're out in the bush. If you have a piece of equipment that's susceptible to